Welcome to the NWO Sports Podcast. Here's your host, Logan Bailey.
Welcome to the NWO Sports Podcast, football edition, brought to you by our primary sponsor, 3Chord. I'm your host, Logan Bailey, and joined today by Keith Brown, AJ Fairchild, and Tony Fairchild. So thanks again, guys, for joining.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
All right, another week in the books, and we are on to the state semifinals, and we still have three local teams still in. And you have Liberty Center, you have Columbus Grove, and you have Patrick Henry. So congratulations to those three teams. It's a pretty exciting time of year, and for us to have those three teams still in it, that's you got to be pretty proud if you're from Northwest Ohio.
Yeah, it's kind of surprised that when we start looking at all the scores that all three of them are still there. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, getting to see a couple, three teams coming out of the regions, given the competition they played last week. All three teams had quite the challenge ahead of them, and all came out victorious, which is awesome. We get to see some great football coming up again.
Yep.
Anytime you can practice the week of Thanksgiving or even on Thanksgiving, that's a great season, no matter if you win or lose.
Yeah, that was something always in high school. Like obviously playing at Tenora, we made it a couple times, and it was always an honor to play that Thanksgiving week. And it's something special and something that these kids will never forget. To have a meal with their entire team, with the families, with the coaches. It's just something that not a lot of teams get to experience. And you figure there's 7 divisions, and now there's only 14, so there's 28 teams left in the state still playing football, and
right.
and those schools are one of them. So
how did you guys do that, Logan? You were there twice, right?
Yep. My junior, senior year.
Did you guys have like a Thanksgiving dinner on Thanksgiving Day together?
Yeah. So what we did, actually, we went out and I believe we had a practice, like our Thursday practice that morning, and then the coaches and the families and the parents, I actually got stuff around to have a meal, and we had it actually in the multi-purpose room at the old Tenora High School. And we just had our meal there, and so we got our practice in for the day. We went and had a kind of a meal for lunch, and then everyone was off to go do their thing on Thanksgiving. But pretty interesting. And I've had the chance to play Thanksgiving in college too. We made the playoffs there, and
oh wow,
that was a little bit more nice because at Findlay, I think that was the first year that we made the playoffs. And we had Thanksgiving at the Findlay Country Club. And I tell you what, that was pretty nice. I had never been to the Findlay Country Club. It's a very exclusive place, but that Thanksgiving meal was delicious. And, again, it's a good memory, and it's a memory that not a lot of football players can have. So, I still I remember all of them like it was yesterday. So
now the one you guys played was an ONU, right?
Yeah.
And that was where the
Ohio
snowball, where it was all snowy around the field and everything, I remember.
Yeah, and that's something, too. The weather this week, I don't know if you guys looked. I believe this Friday it's supposed to be pretty chilly. I think the high was maybe, 28 maybe, or a little bit warmer than that.
It's not going to be like it has been.
No, it's not. And I was talking to someone the other day, and we'll get into some of this later in the podcast, believe me, because we have plenty of time to talk for this one. But for the most part, this season the weather's been pretty fair, and little to no really precipitation at any games that we've been at, and you can't ask for much more in Northwest Ohio football. So
2 games we had rain, and that was about it. Other than that, it was
2 games in
warm.
2 years, really.
Yeah, it was real warm and nice.
All right. Well, we'll move in to see how we did for last week's picks. And last week, everyone went 3-0 except for Matthew, who went 2-1. And Matthew missed the Bluffton Columbus Grove game. And I tell you what, I'm going to tell you about this guy later, but the voice of Columbus Grove, I didn't catch his name, but he introduced himself to me, and he was ecstatic. His personality, he was hyped up. He is probably the number 1 Columbus Grove fan I've ever seen, and he was looking all over high and low for Matthew. He's asking where he's at because he was the only one that picked Bluffton, and he was pretty excited. So
I think he had us confused at first.
He did, yeah. I don't know who he thought we were, and then I said, well, he doesn't come with us. He just picks the games and stuff, and my brother was one of them too. And he was just like trying to hunt him down and find out who it was and why he picked against Columbus Grove. So that was pretty funny. But anyways, Matthew still leads on the year. He's 173 and 43. Second is Keith, 171 and 45. Third is myself with 170 and 46. We have Tony with fourth, 167 and 49. Fifth is AJ, 164 and 52. And Bryce still hanging in there, picking all the hometown teams. It's paying off well for him down the stretch, 156 and 59. So, again, for the most part, everyone's done a terrific job throughout the year.
Everybody's over 70% accuracy.
Yes. So
awesome.
Who needs any kind of computer programs or analytics when you got guys covering Northwest Ohio sports? So everyone's done a terrific job. All right, let's move in. We've got some game recaps from the regional finals, a lot of good ones. But we're going to start off first, and that's the NWO Sports Game of the Week, and that would be Division 6, Region 22. The 2-seed Bluffton facing off against the 1-seed Columbus Grove. We were there at this game, and Columbus Grove was victorious with a 17-10 win. Columbus Grove led at halftime, 17-3. It appeared that they had, pretty strong hold on the game, and we kind of thought things were locked down. And even Coach Schaefer will admit it in his interview. He thought, they almost kind of eased up just a little bit. And in the second half, Columbus Grove put a touchdown on the board and made things interesting. And they even had a punt blocked later in the game too. Columbus Grove did. And I kind of looked down at you guys like, oh man, this game's about to get exciting here down the stretch. But Columbus Grove held on, and they kind of sealed the deal with a big Trenton Barraza run late in the game. Looking at total offense, Columbus Grove had 313 yards, 244 rushing. Bluffton had 238 yards with 126 passing. The turnover battle, Columbus Grove had 2 with 1 interception and 1 fumble, and Bluffton had 2 interceptions. Looking at some top players from Columbus Grove, our player of the game for Northwest Ohio Sports, thanks to BSN Sports, was running back, defensive back Trenton Barraza. He had 22 carries, 163 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and he had 1 interception on defense. I wish I would have got the interception on video. I didn't get a chance to, but it kind of bobbled in his fingertips, and the concentration and the body control to come down with that was very impressive. Yeah. And so that was a pretty good performance from him. Quarterback Landon Best had 15 carries for 81 rushing yards. Wide receiver defensive back Zach Reynolds had 5 receptions, 51 receiving yards, 1 interception in the end zone for Bluffton as they were about to score. So, guys, what were your thoughts on the Columbus Grove and Bluffton game?
What a battle. I mean, it just, we sat there and watched it, and like you said, Columbus Grove was kind of taking care of business, and then, just kind of as you come down the stretch, Bluffton wasn't going away. And, when it's one of those things where you get into a game like this, 17 points isn't that much. I mean, we are down, 14 points. Excuse me. And, they're just kept battling back, and then that big pump block, that was huge. That was huge. A big turning point, in my opinion, that I thought Columbus Grove was going to be in trouble there for a little bit.
Keith, AJ?
Yeah, like you said, Logan and Coach over here, that second half started getting a little bit ugly, and we were like, what's going to happen here? I believe all 17 points were in, 17-3 at halftime. So Columbus Grove's offense was really stagnant in that second half, and Bluffton was just marching the ball. Now they had a couple of turnovers that cost them points, but they were moving the ball very well. And there was a couple of times when they were getting close to the red zone, we were like, they really need a big stop here. And they managed to get it, but then they would let them right back down the field, or they would go 3 and out again and block punt situation, something like that. It was a very much of a bend, don't break mentality in that second half. And they were able to bend quite a ways, but did not break, which is awesome to see. I'm glad they were able to hold on, because definitely made for a very exciting, last couple of minutes.
Yeah, it was almost a tale of 2 halves. Like Columbus Grove controlled the first half, kept Bluffton under wraps, and then second half, Bluffton came out with a short passing game, which kind of caught Columbus Grove, I think, by a little bit of surprise. And yeah, Kyle Lathrop had 16 sacks on the season, and that 16th one was probably the biggest sack of his career, really.
Yeah, I was about to say, you can't bring up this game without mentioning that big sack he had at the end of the game to kind of help seal things away as well.
He was shot out of a cannon. He just came out of nowhere. That was a big third down, too.
It was. It pushed him out of field goal range.
It was after that block punt to, I think it was 17-14 then, and that's when Bluffton was on the march. They had third down and about 3rd and 8 or so, and then Lathrop just came off that right side and just blasted the Bluffton quarterback. But great game by Trenton Barraza. Like, that's the first time we got to see any of Bluffton and Columbus Grove in person. But Barraza is just, you see him on film, but to see him in person is just like 2 different things. You think he's like a bigger, stronger kid, but he kind of reminded me of of old school people like us, me sitting here, like Robert Smith. He's tall and lanky and has long strides, and looks like he's not really running fast, but he's running fast as heck. But as far as comparison, it kind of reminded me of Robert Smith to see him up close in person for the first time ever. But a heck of a game. First half, he was just nickel and dime, 5 here, 7 here, 8 here. Second half, they pretty much keyed on him and shut him down. But a great game by Barraza, too.
And you're a legit football player. I was standing next to a referee. He was standing on the sidelines with me. He was just there watching, I'm assuming, because he said that he refereed a couple other games. I think it was one of their playoff games previously in another game, and he was talking up Trent Barraza. He said you cannot throw it. You cannot throw it near him on defense, and you cannot stop him in the run. And for him, a referee to say that, I mean, that's a pretty good compliment, because for someone that's watched him, refereed him, and just his compliments to Barraza's play, I thought that was pretty cool for him.
Yeah, he did. He said that on when Bluffton came over to the one side there. They threw the ball to that side. He goes, if I'm going to take somebody one-on-one, I don't think I can go over here.
Exactly.
So definitely. But, the big interception in the end zone, Bluffton's getting ready to score. Reynolds going up and getting that, taking that away from them. He had missed one earlier.
Yeah.
Same spot, actually.
Yeah, almost exact same
identical.
throw.
Yep.
He caught that one, and then unfortunately, then Columbus Grove turned right around and gave the ball back to him on a fumble.
Yeah, 2 plays later. Yep.
So, but I thought Columbus Grove played great. Just the only thing down the stretch there, I'm gonna pick on them a little bit. The time management there towards the end, they were snapping the ball with 20 seconds, on the play clock, and when you're trying to run down the time as much as you can, there was probably that one whole series there. I don't think they snapped the ball. They didn't let that ball get down under 10 seconds, and they were able to make the stop at the end. And another good, I don't know who made the pass defense on that long 4th down play. After they made the big sack, there was a long pass over the sideline. Somebody, remember who went up for that, but kind of pushed him out of the side, out of bounds. So just a lot of great plays, and Columbus Grove was able to come away with a victory.
And I saw a comment of someone, they called him Gritty Grove, and that's how this win was. It was gritty. They grinded it out, and they were able to secure the win. And we talk about, again, how tough is it to beat a team twice in one season, and Grove was able to go out there and do it. And I know some people have said, well, they're making excuses saying, well, I don't know if Grove could have beat them if they had X person or Y person. I don't know. You went out there and you beat them twice fair and square. I don't think you can kind of say that Bluffton should have had that win. So that's kind of my thoughts on that.
Yeah. Third of the last 4 years that Columbus Grove's had to the Final Four.
Yeah.
I mean, that's his all-time record, not all-time record, last 4-year record of 45-7 for Coach Schaefer, and three of 4 Final Fours. But from the time we got there, a little bit off the field stuff, the time we got there, like Coach Schaefer came up immediately, Coach Andy Coles came up, Ned, just was interacting with all of us on the sideline, which was great to see those guys come up and have a little bit of funny conversations with all of them.
It was absolutely great.
It was great. And even after the game, the kids are coming up to us and just saying, hey, appreciate what you do. You guys do a great job. One kid's like, hey, watch your telecast in study hall, which was awesome. I love that. But yeah, there was nothing but great support from the Columbus Grove from the time we got there until literally the time we left. So
yeah, there was even a kid that was doing he was backpedaling during the warm-ups at halftime.
Yes, that's right.
Yelling at us saying like, hey, I love your podcast, like goofy things. It was a lot of fun to see how much the community around there.
It was awesome. But yeah, thank you everybody.
And I love Coach Schaefer's comment about the whole Christmas thing, and then look over there in the stands, and the kids are all over there dressed in Christmas trees, and there was even some adults. There was an adult over there wearing Santa Claus coat. So, they kind of took that to heart, but it was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was great to see Columbus Grove Class Act program, great program. A hard-working program, and I'm glad we got to see him play this year. So that was a fun one to watch for sure.
And one other thing that you don't hear me say too often, but a good shout out to the referees. They did a fantastic job in that game. There was a couple plays there that were questionable. There was one that they called them for hitting a defenseless receiver. It is what it is. I mean, but overall they did a fantastic job of controlling the game and keeping everything under control. And I thought they did a really nice job.
Yeah, that's a very valid point, Tony. I think every game that we watch, except obviously the first one with Sonora, all the crews have been absolutely great. They've been very thorough. They've been quick to the point, decisive with their decisions as well. And we talked about that call a little bit there. When you have anything borderline targeting, it's always going to err and for player safety. Right. And I mean, I can understand that. Obviously,
and they didn't call that targeting or like anything like that. They called it hitting a defenseless receiver. Right. And that one, after they said that, it's kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you could give him that one. I mean, the kid didn't catch the ball; it went through his hands, and he got popped pretty good. To me, it wasn't a dirty hit,
No.
at all. But it was just one of those things where, like, okay, they said hit the defensive receiver, and you're like, all right. I mean, if you're calling it that,
Yeah, but I thought they did a very nice job for the entire game. And
Yeah, I think I either pointed out to AJ or Tony, like some point in time throughout there, it's like, just look at this crew. They don't even talk to each other. You can just see how synced up they are with what everyone does out there. Without talking.
Yeah,
It's just-
hand signals
yes,
and
everything
and
was
gestures.
just-
Everybody knows where everybody's
it's like it's
supposed to be. And
a well-oiled machine.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Actually, the last 2 weeks have been just three. Honestly, have been just like that. You watch the refs, you watch how they interact with each other, and it was a great game to watch.
Yep.
Well, I mean, on and off the field. So, and you know what? Going back to what you said about that defensive receiver, was on Columbus Grove on a Bluffton receiver, correct?
yes.
That last series for Bluffton, I wonder if that actually kind of crept into the back of those receivers' head of Bluffton because they had 3 straight drop passes over the middle.
yeah.
yeah, that's a good point.
So
In a row.
Right, 3 straight in a row. Yes.
Well, they always say when you get hit like that, it kind of shortens up your arms.
Yeah.
You don't want to take that hit, so
Very
you kind
true.
of protect yourself and may have pulled back a little bit. But yeah, you're right. I forgot about that, Keith. They did drop 3 big passes right there in that last series.
All right. Well, we'll keep things rolling here. We're looking at the next game, Division 7, Region 26. We're looking at the 6 seed Macomb facing off against the 5 seed Patrick Henry. Patrick Henry won this game by 1 point, 40-39. Patrick Henry led at halftime, 18-13. Total offense, Patrick Henry put up 521 yards of offense with 297 rushing. Macomb had 390 yards with 255 rushing. A lot of offense from this one. Turnovers, Patrick Henry had 2 with 1 interception, 1 fumble. Macomb had 0. And at the end of this game, Macomb they kicked an onside kick, and they recovered it with just a little over 2 minutes in the fourth quarter. Macomb would go down and run in a touchdown, and to end the game, Macomb was pushed back for an extra point due to a personal foul, which led to a 40-yard PAT attempt and a miss. And that point was huge because they ended up losing by 1 point. But looking at some top players from Patrick Henry, quarterback, again, we kind of talked about Patrick Henry and their resilience last week in the podcast. This week, absolutely amazing. I've watched some highlights. I think WTOL had him out there.
Yeah. Yep.
But the connection between Lincoln Krieger and Thomas Smith was amazing. Lincoln Krieger was 10 of 19, 53%, 224 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns, which that actually ties a school record for passing touchdowns in a game for Patrick Henry, and that actually ties teammate Nash Meyer. So very impressive, and congratulations to Lincoln Krieger. He only had 1 interception for the game, and then he also had 10 carries for 134 rushing yards, good for 13.4 yards a carry and 1 rushing touchdown. So 6 total touchdowns accounted for the game. And wide receiver Thomas Smith had 7 receptions, 173 receiving yards, and 3 receiving touchdowns. He used that 6'3" frame of his to his advantage, and there's a lot of them. They're just throwing jump balls and fades into the end zone, and he was going up top. He was like almost kind of like grabbing over top of the defender from Macomb as well. Running back Houston Miranda had 19 carries, 160 rushing yards, good for 8.4 yards a carry. He had 1 reception for 35 receiving yards and a receiving touchdown as well. So, guys, what were your thoughts of the Macomb and Patrick Henry game?
This game was a little bit behind where we were at. The Columbus Grove game got over. We started checking to see where some scores were, and I remember walking out in the middle of the field during just after they got done with the handshake, and we were starting to get ready for our interviews and stuff. That I looked down, and it's, I don't remember what the score was, but they were down by about a touchdown. Macomb was. I'm like, oh well, maybe they've got this. There's not much time left, and then. I'm not watching the live game. I'm just watching score updates, and then all of a sudden it's 39-40, and I'm like, "Uh-oh, what's going on here?" And then somebody yells out that Patrick Henry won. I'm like, what is going on? Come to find out, a big personal foul, and then also a false start, I believe.
Yeah.
Kind of combination there, pushing it back to a 40-yard PAT attempt, which for any high school kicker is going to be pretty much outside of anybody's range. And that's very unfortunate. That's how the game they lose the game. But those things, you can't have that kind of stuff. You can't have the personal fouls in a playoff game like that. That can easily cost you the game. Like
the little things add up, and they add up in a
absolutely.
hurry, especially when you're playing quality opponents in a regional final game.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as Patrick Henry goes, not getting the onside kick recovery is something that can, very easily have cost them game.
Right.
So. Special teams and penalties can make or break a team that's, when you're so evenly matched like this.
Yeah, again, a fantastic job by Patrick Henry and Coach I. I think we said it like 3, 4, 5 straight weeks now. If you would have told anybody after Nash went down with an injury, then they lost Behrman and a couple others, that Patrick Henry would be in the Final Four, they would have just called you nuts and called for the white jacket probably. But, Patrick Henry led, I believe, from start to finish. It was kind of like a tennis match, back and forth. Patrick Henry scores, McComb scores, Patrick Henry scores, McComb scores. Patrick Henry got out to a 40-28 lead, and middle, as AJ said, middle of the fourth quarter, when McComb scored to make it a one-score game, then they got I think it was unintentional onside kick. It kind of was squibbed down to about the 40. Then Patrick Henry couldn't pick it up, and McComb 5.5, 6 minute drive, and this is an unfortunate personal foul, pushes you back. It was about 7-8 yards short. Like it,
I think so.
I mean, really, not really close, unfortunately, but a fantastic job. And again, Thomas Smith, from my understanding, played as a freshman, missed 2 years of football.
Yes.
He did not go out, and is now just starting to emerge here in the last several weeks. And just wonder what would happen if he played all 4 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Right. Just a heck of a game by Thomas Smith. And congratulations to Patrick Henry and Coach I.
I tell you what, I'm just I can't be more impressed with Lincoln Krieger in the way he's been playing down the stretch here, especially just, coming out, throwing the ball, making good decisions. I mean, I know he threw an interception, but making good decisions, taking care of the ball, running as well. I mean, using his athleticism to put some yards on there and help Miranda out a little bit. Just, I tell you what, like Keith said, when Nash went down, everybody was just kind of like, ugh, this is going to be detrimental to them. And I tell you what, it seems like Lincoln's just getting better and better and better the more they play. Unfortunately, coming up this week, we'll talk about it in a little bit, boy, they're going to have their hands full.
Yeah, and I kind of have to laugh at that, looking at that stat line. I think one of the buy or sell points a couple weeks ago was he's playing like Johnny Manziel, and I was like, come on now. Johnny to do some crazy things, put up some video game numbers, and Lincoln was, just kind of continuing to come around. Obviously, that was just a couple weeks ago, but now you throw for 224 passing yards, you tie your school record, 134 rushing yards. Now we're starting to talk. I mean, that's a true threat there at quarterback, and again, some of those connections he had to Thomas Smith in the end zone were impressive. He just kind of thrown him up there, and Thomas Smith was going up to grab him, too.
And for somebody that really wasn't a quarterback, that was kind of,
exactly,
at least recently thrust into being a quarterback, he throws a very nice ball.
He does. A nice tight spiral.
Touch and everything, yes.
But, impressive out of Patrick Henry, and we're excited to see them move on. So let's look at the last game here of our 3 teams that we have covering in Northwest Ohio, and that's Division 5, Region 18. We're looking at Coldwater facing off against Liberty Center. Liberty Center ended up winning this one 17-7, and this game was tied 7-7 at halftime. It was a slow start for Liberty Center as penalties kind of plagued them early. Liberty Center would finally put points on the board thanks to a Trenton Cruz tip pass and Landon Bockelman interception for 36 yards and a touchdown. Mind you, a big man touchdown, which is always awesome to see. I'm a big fan of the offensive or defensive lineman scoring. And finally, he had a chance to show off some of that open field speed that we've heard so much talk about. And we asked Coach Moeller last week, and he said, he's not the fastest on the team, but he moves quick, and he's got good feet for a big man. And we got to see that. And he was off to the races for 36 yards. Looking at total offense, Liberty Center had 272 yards with 257 rushing. Coldwater had 184 yards, 148 passing. Turnovers, Liberty Center had 1 with an interception. Coldwater had 1 with an interception. Looking at some top players from Liberty Center, Waylon Rentz, 15 carries, 122 rushing yards. He had 8.1 yards a carry. Running back Trenton Cruz, 16 carries, 87 rushing yards. Running back Colton Cruz, 7 carries, 30 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Defensive lineman Landon Bockelman, 5 tackles, 1 sack. He had 2 tackles for loss. He had that interception return for a touchdown for 36 yards. And Landon Cruz, Trenton Cruz, and Stephen Brogdon all had led the defense in tackles with 7 apiece. So, guys, what were your thoughts on the Coldwater and Liberty Center game?
Great game from start to basically finish. Coldwater definitely showed up to play. Like we said, they're from the MAC, got Coach Chip Otten, been around forever. You're really not going to fool him or Coldwater. Blockberger had a decent game. Harleman, seems like they put the clamps on him. He didn't really have his breakout or breakaway game that he's had in.
That's something I was going to add. Harleman, when we watched him play against Archbold, he absolutely torched him. This game had him down for 5 receptions, 37 receiving yards.
That was it. Yep. So that Coldwater defense they knew who they had to stop. Liberty Center didn't. Coach Moeller, and they did so. But second straight year. Last year's game wasn't such a game, so this year's game more than made up for it. But yeah, Coldwater had a 7-0 lead up until that defensive pick six by Bockelman. And they had a big drive in the second half. I think it was about a 90-yarder, about 8-9 minutes to go ahead. And then we talked about special teams. Rosebrook with a field goal of 35 yards, I think, to give them that 17-7 win. But Coldwater definitely showed up to play.
Yeah, and Coldwater's a stat that I didn't add in here. Landon Amschutz was 3 of 6 with 1 interception for 37 passing yards. So Coldwater kind of shut down that passing game we saw out of Liberty. Just the week before against Oak Harbor, we saw Liberty put up quite a few passing yards. Landon Cruz really showed out at wide receiver, and they kind of put a halt to that in this game.
Yeah. That was the first thing I noticed is that, the Liberty Center had 272 yards and 257 rushing. So I'm like, got away from the passing game. I mean, he only threw the ball 6 times, completed 3 of them, so he was 50%. It was maybe one of those things like, oh, we're going to rest his arm this week, kind of like playing a big league baseball player or something. I don't know. But, I was kind of surprised by that. But, again, Liberty Center, like you said, Keith, that field goal, in my opinion, was huge. Gives them that 2-score lead, and they were able to hold Coldwater off there towards the end. But
yeah, this was a nerve-wracking one watching the score tick away on this one because we expected, I expected Liberty Center to not blow them out, but to handle it fairly well. And we were watching for most of the first half. It was 0-0. Then all of a sudden it was Coldwater 7, Liberty Center 0. I'm like, this might not be going well. And then all of a sudden we get a text from somebody saying, oh yeah, pick 6 by Liberty Center ties it up. I'm like, okay, well maybe not. And then they go into halftime, and that was all she wrote for Coldwater. And Liberty Center's coming out second half playing well. So definitely sounds like the first half was kind of Liberty Center shooting themselves in the foot more than anything, which is unfortunate because that's one thing they've been doing very well here lately is playing very clean football. At least when we went and watched, there weren't very many penalties, very little turnovers, anything like that. Played very clean, and then sounds like they were just kind of maybe a little out of their element or something.
Maybe a little amped up.
Yeah, a little amped up playing Coldwater. But, somebody said that maybe Coldwater, deserves a little bit more respect and a little more, I forget how they put it. But, Coldwater, we knew they were a good team. We knew that they were going to be the one to test Liberty Center in the regionals. And I think it gives them a good look going into state semifinals here. I think, they got a decent matchup this week. But, if they do make it past this one, Coldwater's going to be that best look preparing them for the state game.
I think Coldwater kind of shocked me in this game because, honestly, if I would have put a spread on this game, I would have said at least 21 or more in favor of Liberty Center after seeing Coldwater play against Archbold. Yeah. And Coldwater came out, and they kept it close throughout the entire game. And I think it just goes to show that you can never count out a school from the MAC no matter what, because those teams just go down in that conference, and they just beat each other up, and they know how to compete. And honestly, this is the first time probably all year that Liberty Center was put on the ropes a little bit. There's been no other opponent other than the first half of Tenora that was kept close. Other than that, Liberty Center's blown everything wide open throughout the year. So maybe this is a good thing in the sense that it prepares Liberty to be challenged, tested a little bit more. Now you're getting down to the final 4 teams, and the games just keep getting tougher from here. So for them to have that tough game, I think it will do them good going forward.
Yeah, and I honestly, I was just thinking about that as AJ was talking. I don't think Liberty Center has trailed in a game since that Sonora game. They've been up on everybody since then. So you're right. This is I think that was a good thing, kind of getting pushed up against the wall and see how they were going to react. And they came back out. They got things dialed in and got going. But the other thing that I wanted to point out real quick is Liberty Center still won this game 17-7, and they did it Liberty Center away, running the ball.
Yeah.
And Coldwater still may have stopped them, but didn't stop them enough. You know what I mean? So,
exactly.
So I was just kind of impressed with that.
Yeah. And I think from this game, too, there's a good amount of Liberty Center players that were kind of banged up. So hopefully they're all healthy and ready to roll. I mean, it's tough at this point in the season, and that's the thing for a lot of teams. It's who can keep their kids healthier, because now you're getting to the point you're playing 5. This is their 5th game coming up this week. So that's half of a regular season. So you're playing a season and a half to this point. You got to keep your bodies fresh. You got to keep them healthy, and you got to stay on top of things. And if they can continue to stay healthy, Liberty's going to be a tough out here in the last couple of games.
Well, that's kind of going back to when you were talking about the Columbus Grove game against Bluffton, that rematch. People saying like, oh, if they would have had so-and-so, or, if they would have had this player healthy, like, that's part of football. It's a game of attrition. Like, you got to stay healthy and be able to compete for 16 weeks to be able to win it.
Yeah,
win it all.
absolutely.
So, the same thing with Liberty Center. They've got to stay healthy and they've got to keep their bodies in good shape here coming into the last 2 games, because that's just as much of a detriment to them as anything else.
Because these guys have if you're still playing this weekend, you probably have 20 more practices than everybody that's season ended in week 10 or 11.
Right.
So
and that's a really thing as a coach that you really gotta. You got to really, and I think Coach Mueller kind of touched on this a little bit last week. You really got to try to play, battle that attrition thing. Like, okay, I got to have a nice balance, so I'm getting some good looks at practice, but yet not taking a bunch of extra hits, right? Yeah. You want to keep everybody healthy, so there's a fine balance that you got to maintain.
The hits hit a little harder when it's cold outside.
Gosh. I think Coach Mueller kind of talked about it last week. I think. Obviously being smart about it, but being efficient with, you still got to have a little bit of contact during practice, but being smart about it, obviously really winding things back, because now you're to the point, if you don't know a lot of what you're doing at this point, that you're going to have some trouble.
Right.
But, as far as schematics go, really, obviously you're still running your offense that you've run tried and true throughout the year. It's just kind of adjusting things for the game plan. And obviously, too, another thing is if you don't know how to tackle, you honestly can't say that if you're making it to the state semifinals. Your teams know how to tackle and know how to hit, obviously, and Liberty does that better than anyone else that we've ever seen. So other than that, this is a good game and Liberty moves on. So, well, that concludes our game recaps of the regional finals. We're going to take a break to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back. 3Chord is a family-owned and operated business who offers the highest quality embroidery, screen printing, sign and promotional items to customers of Northwest Ohio at competitive prices. Locations in Archbold, Napoleon, and Bowling Green. Check them out at 3chord.com. That's THREECORD.com. Optimal Performance Fitness is your go-to gym in Northwest Ohio, providing group fitness classes, personal training, and sports performance sessions for area athletes. Located in Napoleon, Ohio. Give them a call today at 419-438-7265. BSN Sports is your go-to business for purchasing uniforms, equipment, spiritwear, and anything else your athletic program needs, giving you more time to impact lives on the field. With over 1,200 sales professionals who live, work, and serve in your community, we are always just a short drive or phone call away. Be sure to give your local sales rep and Jim Garris a call for any of your athletic supply needs. For any of your auto body or collision needs, be sure to check out Bat & Stevens Body Shop, voted the #1 body shop in Northwest Ohio by Crescent News readers. Give them a call today at 419-497-3111 to schedule your free estimate. Check out Tenora Rams Live. Live events broadcast on YouTube and post-game results, articles, schedules, and more can all be found on tenorarams.com. Feel free to look up their Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram pages as well. Fairchild Family Chiropractic aims to help families to get better together in the least invasive way possible. Dr. Fairchild focuses on the neck using the Blair technique and Palmer package, adjusting to correct spinal misalignments. Located in Defiance, Ohio, call Dr. Fairchild today at 419-576-5070 to schedule an appointment. We're back on the NWO Sports Podcast, and we are now on to the Hot Takes presented by BSN Sports. But first, the sub-segment within the Hot Takes, that's buying or selling segment. So we got a couple good ones here, and we're either going to buy, holding up the green buy sign, or sell, the red sell sign, if we agree or disagree with the statement. And we'll kind of give our quick little spiel on each point. So the first one, a little bit of history lessons here. So we're looking at America versus Britain is equal to Patrick Henry versus Marion Local. Do you believe in miracles? Because I do. Tony, are you buying or selling?
I guess I got to figure out what I'm buying or selling. Is it the small guy versus the big guy? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, I believe so.
Buy. That's Patrick Henry is going to have their hands full of trouble with Marion Local. I mean, I think Patrick Henry, they've got a great team and they're going to be able to do things, but. When you look at Marion Local, they're just the big boy on block.
Keith, are you buying or selling?
Buying or selling that. Do I believe in miracles?
I don't know. Or are you not American if you go against them?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I guess. I'm upside down again. I believe in miracles, yes. I mean, I've seen many miracles in my lifetime for sports. NC State beating Houston in the 83 championship game for basketball.
So you think Patrick Henry has a chance?
90 Reds beat the unbelievable Oakland A's back then, and the New York Giants defeated the Patriots about a decade ago in the Super Bowl, who were undefeated. It's just going to be a tough matchup for Coach I and the Patriots. I mean, you're looking at Marion Local. They've won 13 titles since 2000, and hoping for a win for PH, but it's going to be rough.
AJ, are you buying or selling?
As far as the miracles, yeah, I buy that. I believe in miracles. They're going to need one heck of a one to knock off Marion Local, unfortunately. Everybody knows Marion Local is just an absolute powerhouse, and Patrick Henry is going to absolutely have their hands full this week.
For myself, I'm going to sell. I do believe in miracles, but I think Patrick Henry is going to need a little bit more than a miracle to take down the powerhouse in Marion Local. It's just that one school in pretty much the state of Ohio that you're going to run into a gauntlet every single time you play them. And, Patrick Henry is just going to have their hands full. So for that, I am selling.
I guess I didn't know which way we were supposed to go with that one.
Yeah, I think we kind of all took it a different direction.
Yeah, I guess it's however you take it.
I think we're all on the same page. We just said buy, you said sell. So
yeah, it had to be different. So next one, Bluffton is a better team than Grove. They're just scared of them. Are you agreeing with buying or are you disagreeing with selling?
Hey, sell Bluffton, sell.
Why are you selling?
If you were a better team, you would have won. Plain and simple. It wasn't the referees. It wasn't. There were dropped passes. So just to me, if you were a better team, you would have beat Grove. So,
Keith, buying or selling? Bluffton is a better team than Grove.
Sell. You lost 2 times to them this season. Both competitive, great games, but to say they're better than a team that you lost to twice that's just ridiculous.
AJ, buying or selling?
Right there with you on that. 2 losses of the same team. We talk about that. That's hard to do. And for Columbus Grove to beat you twice, there's not much more to be said about it.
not a fluke.
That's right. And for myself, I am agreeing with you guys. I'm selling. Again, if you beat them once and, you come back and you do beat them the second time, then I think you have a case. But if you lose twice in the same season, there's no way that I can agree with that statement. And I know people can say, well, if this person was playing or injuries and this and that, that's the name of the game. You got to be healthy. And at the end of the day, it still says 2 wins for Columbus Grove in the series, and it says 0 for Bluffton. So for that, I'm definitely selling. Next, buy or sell. Division 7 is the great value brand of Ohio football. Tony, are you buying or selling?
Well, until AJ kind of explained to me what they were trying to say there, it's like, so they're saying it's like the Walmart brand of football.
Yes, yeah.
I didn't catch that when I was reading it. I was like, what?
For you, those who don't know, the great value is the Walmart, which is the cheap brand of items at Walmart store.
I didn't quite understand it, so then AJ explained it. I was like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. I'm going to sell. Because D7 is still good football, just like I guess great value has got some good products too, I suppose. But I think D7 is good football. I go watch PH. Unfortunately, when you talk about D7 being the great value brand of football, I'll take Marion Local. They're D7.
True.
Bring them up here and put them against Defiance and see who comes out on top. So when you say D7, who are you referring to in D7?
I don't know. Marion Local is definitely an expensive great value brand. That's for sure. Keith, are you buying or selling? Division 7 is a great value brand of Ohio football.
Sell that bad boy.
Why are you selling?
Great value chips are actually really good. I would prefer those over most brand name chips, honestly. You get good and bad with that brand, but like Tony said. Antwerp had a pretty good season. They're Division 7. PH, very good. Marion Local, you got your good teams, your good players. There's just less of that to choose from, is all. But yeah, it's decent football.
AJ, buying or selling?
I'm going to go ahead and buy on that one. Kind of the same points, but I think it kind of lends more to the fact that it's a good point. There are definitely some good things from great value brand that you can find. Some products that, are just as good, if not better than some of the originals, the name brand, but there are definitely some not so great things. D7 football is kind of the same way. There are definitely those diamonds in the rough, like the Marion Locals, and Patrick Henry is a good, solid D7 team. But then you also have some other teams in D7 that are just, they've got a football team. Be happy about that.
There's some teams in D1 that got some football teams.
You're right about that, but I think they equate. Yeah.
For myself, I'm going to buy this statement. So I'm agreeing that Division 7 is the great value brand of Ohio football. So my take on this is I do. I agree with AJ and you guys. There's some good athletes. There's some good football in Division 7. But again, it's the one part of the spectrum where things are kind of watered down a little bit. There's maybe not as much talent kind of in that pool. And even like crowds, atmosphere, things like that. We discussed that before, that I was told at the Patrick Henry Macomb game, stadium wasn't even probably halfway full. You go to Liberty Center game, there's only standing room only open. I just think that it gets kind of watered down a little bit in Division 7. Not saying that it's not good quality football, but compared to some of the other divisions, even Division 6 with Columbus Grove and Bluffton, Donnell Stadium in Findlay was packed. A good atmosphere, a lot of good athletes, but I do think you start getting to Division 7, and it's not necessarily quite the same as the others. But you have to take that with a grain of salt, because I do like some great value brands too. So same thing for Division 7 programs. There's some good ones out there. Next one, looking at Patrick Henry is soft and will get exposed against Marion Local. Buying or selling, Tony?
Sell.
Why are you selling?
Patrick Henry is not soft. After everything they've gone through this season to make it to where they're at, they're not soft by any means. Are they going to get exposed against Marion Local? That one I might buy. The Marion Local is, the best team in the state. There's no doubt about that. No, I don't think Patrick Henry will argue, knowing that they have a huge task in front of them. But BH is not soft. They've done a great job of regrouping this year and just, fighting adversity after adversity. So.
Keith, buying or selling that Patrick Henry is soft and will get exposed against Marion Local?
Yeah, I agree with everything Coach Fairchild said on that one. Sell that one. If anything, it'll make you stronger, probably on and off the field, to go over everything that the Patriots have this season.
AJ, buying or selling?
Oh, selling. Absolutely not. Now, like you said, Coach, that there's a good chance that, Marion Local puts a little bit of a whooping on them. Hopefully not. Hopefully Patrick Henry can compete, but we all know Marion Local. So, even if Marion Local comes out and just stomps on Patrick Henry, I don't think that says anything about Patrick Henry being soft. I just think it's Marion Local.
Right.
So they've had a fantastic season. I think if anybody can be praised, it's Coach I and the Patriots.
For myself, I am selling on that statement. So Patrick Henry, again, like Tony said, Patrick Henry is not soft. For everything that they've gone throughout the season, all the adversity, for them to still pull things together and make it to the Final Four, unbelievable. Just again, we commended them a lot last week, but the whole coaching staff of all the Georges, Coach Inselman, the players, everyone to rally group behind, taking Lincoln Krieger and rallying with him at quarterback, and a position that he really didn't play all that much. Very impressive season from them. Again, the second half of that may be something that I would buy, just because Marion Local, everyone knows the nature of the game. Marion Local is just one of those teams, and we'll get into them during the game predictions, but I believe Coach Goodwin has over 300 wins, and he's averaging 13 wins a season?
12.8 wins a season.
I don't know any other coach that's ever really done that before, so they're going to have their hands full, that's for sure. So, next one, the NWOAL represented well this season. Buying or selling, Tony?
Buy.
Why are you buying?
Pretty simple. Look at Liberty Center, look at PH, Archbold, in the playoffs, did very well. Archbold unfortunately played against Coldwater, who then eventually played against Liberty Center. So, they were represented very, very well.
Keith?
I'll buy that as well. I think 5 of the 8 teams made the playoffs. 4 of them got wins. 2 of them are still playing.
Right.
So, pretty well speaks for itself.
AJ, buying or selling?
100% buy that one. Yep, absolutely. They performing very well.
For myself, I am going to buy that one. I think that, again, you look at all the teams that made the playoffs for the NWL. You have Liberty Center, Bryan, Wauseon, Patrick Henry, Archbold. All did pretty well for the most part. And obviously you still have Liberty Center and you have Patrick Henry that made it to the Final Four. And for one conference to have 2 teams, very, very impressive. That's absolutely phenomenal. But, that goes to say a lot, too. Actually, I talked to one of the coaches, too, and I think they kind of said from the NWL that, this overall, looking at talent-wise, things like that, the league was kind of down a little bit this year. And for them to go out and in a down year still have 2 teams make the Final Four, wow, and five teams to make the playoffs, and Evergreen almost made it too. That says a lot about that conference. So for that, I am buying.
Okay, so would NWAL, because Bryan's D4, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there a D6 team?
Delta's
D6.
probably 5
5,
or 6.
Trying to think. I was just kind of curious because because the NWO has teams from Division 4, 5, 6, and 7. I don't think they have any D3 teams. I don't think Swanton's D3.
Swanton is Division 5.
5.
And
Evergreen
is Division 6.
So yeah, so they have. So to me, just having a team in the that could possibly represent, four of the divisions.
You look back a few years ago, the MAC had Division 5, 6, and 7, and I believe it was Marion Local, it was Coldwater, and it was
Minster.
Or was it Minster?
I believe Minster. Yep.
Marion Local, Minster, and maybe like New Bremen, I think was maybe one of them too. I was trying to think.
They
won the 3 state championships in that one year. I can't remember who the 3 were, but again, that's why the MAC is so great. And honestly, you have to throw the NWL into consideration for small school football too.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So you start thinking about that. I mean, if PH would come out and if PH beats Marion Local and if Liberty Center runs the table and they end up winning the state championship, and PH wins the state championship in the same year, now you're kind of, everybody always talks about the MAC, but just look where they're for us. Just look to the east.
Yeah, say where they're sitting right now. I think both conferences have 2 teams in state semifinals right now, if I'm not mistaken. Because I think everybody else got knocked down. I think Marion Local, and then let's see who's in Versailles. It's D6. Coldwater got knocked out. So I'm not sure. I don't think they have anything higher right now. But there's 2 teams from the MAC, 2 teams from the NWAL, and one of those is going to be facing off this week. So,
and actually, that fun fact, that year that the MAC had 3 football schools win state titles was 2014. The 3 teams were Coldwater, Minster, and Marion Local that won that season. Wow. And I believe even other years they have 2 teams that have won in the same season as well. Impressive out of the MAC. So, last buying or selling point: turf over grass in high school. Tony, buying or selling?
Now, there's a stipulation on this.
What's the stipulation?
Right? Is the grass field going to be taken care of? I mean, if it's Elmwood, if you're looking at Elmwood's field, I could go grass.
Let's say typical high school grass field.
I'm buying. I'm going turf. Turf's just so much better, playability wise. It doesn't seem to get messed up in the rain. You don't got to worry about fertilizing it and watering it and all that stuff. So I'm because most schools don't have a dedicated grounds person.
I agree.
To take care of it. So to me, turf is easier for the coaching staff. They don't have to go out there and paint lines, or because at Sonora they got to paint their own. I don't think they have to paint their own lines, but they got to paint all the numbers and all that stuff on there. The parents paint all the yard markers, stuff like that. So to me, if you had turf, it takes all of that out of there. And then you also don't have a 4-yard. 5 to the goal line like some places do. It's only a 4-yard, 5 yards, if you understand what I'm trying to say.
And I'll interject. Obviously, I'm going to wait for my point. But yeah, there's a lot of discrepancies when it comes to field maintenance, and whether it be like either painting the lines or field conditions and things like that. But
and you go up in some of the press boxes, and it looks like the guy just left the bar when he comes out there to spray the lines. And they kind of go all over the place. And if you look across the field, and it's a first down over there, but over here you're a yard short. So I'm not sure. So I'm turf anyway.
Keith, are you buying or selling turf over grass in high school?
I'm old school. Give me turf all day, every day. Or not turf, grass. Give me grass all day, every day. As you guys said, turf is obviously more official. Like everything's where it's supposed to be. Like all the yard markers are perfect. Everything's a 50-yard line's a 50. It's not the 49 and a half. But I just like the look and feel of an old school grass field, as long as it's taken care of and everything's accurate on there.
AJ, are you buying or selling?
It's hard. I've played on both, and I'm going to have to sell on this. I think, like you said, Keith, a well taken care of grass field is awesome to play on. I used to love playing on Tenora's field. It used to be very well taken care of. Like Elmwood's field, watching them take care of that, how nice it was, fertilized and green and looked great. A nice grass field is awesome to play on. Now, turf is obviously a lot more easy to take care of long term. Maintenance teams really don't have to do much for 10 years or so, the life of the turf field. But grass is just nice to play on.
For myself, I am going to buy on this because I agree 110% with Tony. If you look at the stereotypical field, there's a lot of schools that do a nice job, but like you said, for them to have a crew specifically for, field maintenance, things like that, let's be realistic. How many actually have a designated? Usually it's just like the maintenance guy or, the high school coaches helping out. But I'm talking about someone truly who knows turf management, things like that. And when we saw at a playoff game that the referees make you go fill in a pothole in a field, I don't know about that.
Amen.
So I think for the most part, turf, it looks nice. It's professional. It represents your facilities well. Low maintenance. Obviously, the price of getting it installed is quite a bit. But I think at the high school level, if you can afford it, I think it's less hassle. And I think the pros outweigh the cons. I know there's always that question about injuries. And that's a big topic in the NFL is how they want to go back to grass fields. But again, it goes back to maintenance of a grass field. And there's a lot of these schools that it's not, I don't know what I want to say. It doesn't have the right crown. It doesn't have the right drainage. There's potholes. The grass is dying in some areas. Yeah. It's not there's too many inconsistencies. And I almost think that outweighs, if you have a poorly maintained grass field, I think your risk of injury has to go up higher than if you were to play on turf and, plant your foot a wrong way in the turf. So,
and you can look at the greatest manicured, top of the line grass fields. And I always bring up this number one, LSU. LSU has grass field, and whenever they play there, you look, if they show the camera angle, there's just dirt divots everywhere. Like they've been playing golf out there. Like they let all 100,000 fans go out there and take a wedge shot. It's just all tore up everywhere. And like you said also, Logan, when you have turf, it plays the same. You go from area to area, from field to field to field to field, and it's grass. These guys cut their grass at 4 inches. These guys cut their grass at 2.5. These guys have holes in their field. So it's always different. And they always say, "Oh, it's home field advantage." But I'd rather just line up mano a mano and take all the other stuff out of it and just play on turf and go after it.
Those are all fair points. I would say, though, if you do have a well-groomed grass field, I would take that 100% over turf. But we're talking high school here.
That's a very good point.
These high schools don't have $1 million budgets to maintain their facilities and their fields and so on and so forth.
Right.
Guys out there in the summer watering the field every single day. Not all these schools have positions like that.
It's like every high school just seems like an old retired farmer just to take care of their football and baseball fields and stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. So, that was an interesting one. We've talked about turf and grass quite a bit this season, so it always comes up again and again. So that concludes our buying or selling takes. We're going to move into the hot takes, and we got a couple special ones for Thanksgiving week. But first, guys, what is the craziest weather moment involving football that you've been into, like in person?
Do I get to go first?
Tony, you can go first.
The Snow Bowl last year at Antwerp and LCC.
Yes.
When that snow came in, we're up at the top of the press box there at Finley, and they actually stopped the game for a couple minutes because you couldn't see the field.
It was whiteout blizzard conditions. You could not see, and we were up in the press box. Thank goodness, because that was warm. But again, like you said, I have never seen anything like that at a football game.
Yeah, just came in like out of nowhere and just came right over top of the press box, and it was like, oh, it's starting to snow. And then next thing you know, you couldn't see anything. You're like, holy smokes, you can't see the field. But I tried to take a video of it, but the video did just not do justice to what it actually looked like when you were standing there.
It did, yeah. Actually, I have a couple, I think from last year. I'll have to insert into this because it was just unbelievable. I mean, you couldn't even see the wayside bleachers. It was snowing so hard.
And then to come out there with the leaf blowers and blew off the line.
Yes, I remember that. Keith, what was the craziest weather moment you've ever had involving football?
Personal involvement would probably be...
Can I answer this one for you?
Off the field. We were watching, I don't think it was Tenor and Ayersville, about 2010-ish or so. It was so cold, freezing, flurries, slush, you name it. So Tony brings a tarp. Says, hey, we'll protect ourselves from the winds and elements. Well, it's fine until you got to hold the tarp for 3 hours, and
because we had no way to hold the tarp up there. The poles,
and we didn't bring poles.
Didn't bring the poles.
So what'd you do? Wrap it around you like a blanket?
No, we
stood there and held it.
She
stood there and held it.
Yeah, I held this side, and I don't know who had the other side, but that one always stands out, and we still joke about that. Obviously,
all the time.
How'd Keith get voted to hold that?
Just wound up sitting in that spot, I guess.
I had my rain gear on, so I'm like, I don't need to hold it. I'm dry. But we draped the tarp over the back of the. we were always at the top of the bleachers there at Sonora, and we draped the tarp over the back of the bleachers and brought it up over top. It would have worked perfect had we had a way to hold up the poles. So after that, my father-in-law, in all his infinite wisdom, made some clips that you could actually screw them right onto the front of the bleachers, and never used it again. That's the gloves that Keith had on last week that was still wet.
Still wet from 13 years later.
AJ, how about you?
I wasn't at the Snow Bowl last year. I wasn't at that game, and I think I was actually on the field during that game, so I didn't even realize what was going on as far as weather, because when you're playing football, football's football. You don't really worry about what the weather's doing. But I think the craziest football game that I've ever actually been at, weather-wise, is probably the Elmwood LC game last year when it was so cold. The wind was so cold. It wasn't even like ridiculously low temperatures. It was just the wind chill was so cold that your face got so numb that we couldn't talk to each other. We couldn't enunciate words because our lips just would not move. And I've never had that feeling before, where you just felt like you can't talk. You couldn't enunciate what you're saying because your mouth was just so cold.
Oh, geez. For myself, I would say probably watching the one that Tony talked about, the Snow Bowl game of Antwerp and LCC. It was unlike any other. I've never seen it snow that hard in that short a period of time. But playing-wise, I'd have to say probably my junior year at Sonora when we played Winford in the regional final at Ohio Northern. That temp, I kid you not, I think the wind chill was like -15 or -20. I mean,
it was cold.
It was cold, and it was unbelievable. I remember going to school the next day, and one of the girls, actually, she had to go to the hospital because she got frostbite, I think. Like, wow. Seriously. And, it was ice cold. And you look back on that, and none of the guys were wearing sleeves that game. That's right. We all rolled with short sleeves, and I'll never forget that one. That was the coldest game I've ever played in, and it was just unbelievable to play in that type of environment.
A year. It's almost that anniversary because it showed up on my Facebook memories today.
Yeah, so that's funny you mentioned that, because I've been seeing obviously on social media that brings up all the memories from years ago and a lot of the football playoff stuff from back.
You guys played on a Saturday that night.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and it's always interesting to see all that stuff come back up on your feed, and kind of brings back some memories too.
Yeah,
so
we were there like an hour or so beforehand.
Yeah,
it was just, oh my god.
Oh, you guys sat out in the bleachers?
Yeah,
we were like they opened the gate up, man.
We were one of the first ones.
Jeez, you guys need to bring one of those portable little buddy heaters, those little propane heaters. Jeez, because that was like dangerous cold. I couldn't believe that they even had the game, honestly, if you think about it. So
I got a couple other ones. I remember when back, I think it would have been, it was in the 80s. We always talk about Edgerton having a great place to play, and I think I mentioned it to you guys as we went over there. We were there one year, and the fog kind of settled down in that little bowl where they play, and it got like you couldn't see up above. I mean, it was like if you were at probably the top of the press box, it was. I mean, it settled in and got thick, and I remember that. And then I remember it would have been my junior year of high school. We were playing at Fairview, and it's like Fairview was always our last game of the season, and it was like 70 degrees out Friday night, and there was raining. And then they had a thunderstorm, and lightning actually struck a light pole somewhere, right out there by the field. So everybody left, like, done. We're not playing the game tonight. And so we went back home, and dummy me, you didn't have a phone where you look up the weather forecast for the next day. I had all my bag packed. I'm like, never went out to the field, so just threw everything back in my bag. And next day, come in, just grabbed the same bag and went back out there, not knowing that the temperature dropped about 40 degrees overnight with the rainstorm, and it went from probably 70 degrees to 35, 40 degrees on Saturday, and it was rainy and wet. I just remember getting knocked down in the water for the first play on the kickoff. And it's like, just took your breath away. You're like, oh, okay, I'm ready now.
I think there's a photo in the yearbook back then of you and Schlegel and Ordway and all those. Oscar Vega I think he had all whites on and they're browns.
Yeah, we dove in a big water puddle right beside the field there too. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, I'm thinking of other memories. Obviously, we talked a lot about cold games, rainy games, things like that. But the hottest game I think that I ever played in was in college. We went out to Kansas City. and it was Kansas City, Missouri. So I had to learn that too. I didn't know their city of Kansas City is actually divided. There's the Missouri side and there's the Kansas City side. It's literally right on the border, which I never really knew that. And so we went out there, Kansas City, and we were playing a team, William Jewell, and it was the first game or second game of the year. It's like a 12-hour bus ride. So you travel all the way out there, and it is hotter than all get out. And you're playing on the turf, and I believe someone said, I don't know if they said the temp was like 105, 110 on the field. And guys were cramping up left and right. And there's even times, that's a bad thing about turf. We just got off that topic, is turf gets so hot and it just absorbs all that heat, especially being like darker colors, dark green, things like that. And your feet will actually start burning on that hot turf. I remember in practices and things like that, I mean, you'd have to squirt your feet off with a bottle of water because it would seriously start to burn your feet, especially the hot turf. You'd wear black cleats on top of that. So that's just another kind of craziest weather moment of being the hottest game that I've ever been a part of. So, yeah, that's an interesting one. So let's move on. Next one. Now this is the Thanksgiving take. So we'll see where this goes. Top 5 foods at Thanksgiving. Who wants to kick this off? AJ? I know you're talking earlier.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us one of them you're talking about?
We each got to name 5, or how are we doing this?
You don't have to name any order. If you want to name a few, that's fine too.
Okay.
I'm a big sucker for some good mashed potatoes. Even just like some creamy, buttery mashed potatoes. Nothing special. Don't have to worry about like garlic mashed potatoes or cheese or anything like that. Just some good, buttery, creamy mashed potatoes. None of that like clumpy, dry lunchtime cafeteria squeeze it and it like falls off as a clump. None of that. I want some like creamy mashed potatoes. Those are really good.
Keith, what do you got?
Number one, it has to be like a turkey with a golden brown top. You put the turkey in the oven, and every now and then you put some like a butter stick on top, and just let the butter soak in. And right there.
Not the Clark Griswold turkey.
No, not the dry. No. Just put butter on that every now and then throughout the morning, and
So, I love a turkey. I don't know. For me, when it comes to food, my mom has always made homemade noodles for Thanksgiving, and
that's a good one.
Those things are the bomb. That and the creamy mashed potatoes
Together.
Just mix it right.
mix.
Just dump it right on top of the potatoes, and I tell you what, and that's eat a big pile of that stuff. So along with some turkey, and then it's lights out. I don't even watch the rest of the Cowboy game.
nap time.
I said that to someone the other day. I said, this may be the first Thanksgiving you actually see, we're talking about the Lions. The Lions may actually win on Thanksgiving. So it's been a long time coming. So,
now you just jinxed them.
yeah, right. Knock on wood. Better find some wood to knock on. But for myself, probably my top one, you said noodles. My wife's grandma, she makes some really good homemade noodles too. They're pretty good. Actually, I don't even know if they're homemade. Whatever she makes them, they're just really good. But and that and a turkey, a well-cooked turkey. Yep. I don't like those oven ones that are literally like Clark Griswold type Christmas Vacation dry. I can't do that.
Me neither.
But I've got a good recipe that I started doing a couple of years ago. I'm not cooking a turkey this year, but smoked turkey on the smoker. Basically what you do is
I saw that.
You put it in a pan, and this recipe calls for you quarter up apples and onions, and you stuff the turkey. You put your seasonings on the outside. It's like garlic, salt, pepper, whatever. And then you put like some butter on the inside, and you take some cola, so either like Coke or Pepsi, and you kind of put it in there, and it gets this nice caramelized flavor over top with a smokiness, and it's to die for. It's really good. So that's something I kind of came across a couple years ago, but that I'd have to say that.
Ever deep fry one?
Deep fried is good. As I say, the best two ways I like turkey is deep fried or smoked.
I have never deep fried one yet, and I would like to try that.
Yeah.
Scary thought.
But I always think about burning the house down too.
Yeah. You got to do that outside and far away from things, because that can be real dangerous. But make sure it's dry too. You don't want any moisture in that thing, or it'll boil over or whatever. But deep fried is excellent. You get that crispy deep fried turkey. That's really good too. So.
What's your favorite dessert for Thanksgiving?
Favorite dessert?
I mean, everybody always yells out pumpkin pie.
Yeah, I gotta say either apple pie or pecan pie. Those would be probably my go-to, with some Cool Whip on top. Oh yeah. I like that. What about you guys? Favorite dessert?
Like an apple pie, but more of like a crumble crust. I don't care for so much the the typical like doughy crust. I want more of like an apple crisp type crust to it with some ice cream on it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, ice cream.
That
works too.
Not to sound like Jim from American Pie, but warm apple pie. Yes.
Oh my gosh! Wow, that just put an image in my head I don't want to see, Keith. Oh goodness! Oh man! We always make that dessert. They call it dirt.
Okay.
It's like the pudding and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's pretty good
That stuff's
too.
always really good. But nothing beats a pumpkin pie.
Yeah, and I'm trying to even think what other sides. I don't know. Actually, I had that conversation a lot with my patients throughout the week. Do you have a typical Thanksgiving meal like turkey, mashed potatoes, sides, or do you have a non-traditional? Because one year for Thanksgiving, I believe it was at one of my wife's families, and we went and we had tacos for Thanksgiving. So that was something different. They did not want to do a traditional meal, so we had tacos. Awesome. So I always like to hear, what people do for Thanksgiving.
I guess this is for Christmas, but rah 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 rah.
Right? No kidding.
Get some Chinese.
Oh yeah, nothing beats walking in. You smell turkey, and towards the end you smell rolls. You got the buttered or cinnamon rolls, the good old frozen corn with some butter on it, and mashed taters, like AJ said. Right there, eat all that, then you're pretty well done for at least a couple hours after you nap.
Oh, yeah.
Then of course,
you guys take naps on Thanksgiving? To nap or not to nap? Do you nap?
Oh,
Keith?
good Lord, yeah.
Choice.
AJ?
Yes.
Oh, Tony? Yeah,
No
you guys all
choice.
right?
I would like to say no, but I always end up just conked.
I nap without the food.
Like anybody else's family, they probably make more than what you need, so you go back for seconds about 5 or 6 o'clock and do it all over again. Get a little bit of this, get a little bit of that. Oh man,
I had a patient
Good
tell
times.
me either like from Thanksgiving till after New Year's, calorie count you don't count calories anymore. It's just there's no such thing as a diet.
Oh shoot!
Yeah, so that's making me hungry. Jeez, we just had pizza tonight and I'm ready for this Thanksgiving food come Thursday. So, that's a good one. Well, after all that, let's get into some serious hot takes here. So, we're looking at this one, and that's Napoleon is now the little brother of Henry County, with Liberty Center and Patrick Henry in the state semifinals and Holgate being a state runner-up in 8-man football. That's a bold statement. Who wants to start this hot take? And that's one thing I will say is those Henry County schools, geez, they kind of get after it. They're very cutthroat over there.
I mean, I guess I'll start. Napoleon, if you want to say the little brother, just because they didn't go as far in the playoffs. But, I mean, you got to realize who Napoleon. I mean, Napoleon did get a win. Right? Did get a win. And then, so I don't know. To me, I would say they're all brothers. If you want to say which one's the smaller one, I would say it's still probably PH, because I think if you match PH and Napoleon up, that would be a good contest. This year, I think, I don't know. I don't know who would win if you matched them up this year.
I would almost say that with Napoleon being a bigger school, they're like the big brother that was athletic, was decent at sports, but then the younger brothers, the ones that came in and they just got all the talent. They come in and everybody forgets about the older brother.
Yeah.
Keith?
Yeah, I actually has a very good point by AJ. If you just go by on the field results, clearly Liberty Center beats Napoleon quite frequently, especially in recent memory.
Liberty Center is definitely the big brother of Henry County. In terms of football, that is.
Yep.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. So, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'd say Napoleon's the little brother. I think maybe the middle brother. So I still think Napoleon would either beat or compete with Patrick Henry, and obviously Holgate is in a whole nother category. And we saw Holgate play, which obviously they had a great season. But again, 8-man is still different than 11-man.
Totally different.
And Napoleon ended up having a good last half of the season and really stepped things up. Got a playoff win, made the playoffs, had a chance at an NL title in the Cardinal division. I don't think you can call that little brother-esque. I think you got to say maybe middle brother. So that's
definitely
what I would have to say about that. Next hot take. Liberty Center would beat Ohio State. That wing T is pretty unstoppable.
Maybe Michigan.
You know what, Logan? You're going to like to hear this one.
Let's hear it.
It's possible because Ohio State's run defense sucks, So, I don't think Liberty Center beats Ohio State, but Ohio State definitely has to shore up their run defense come this weekend facing Michigan. But I think they'd be able to handle Liberty Center.
Guys, what are your thoughts? I know this one's kind of far-fetched, but let's have some fun with it. I don't know. I think Liberty Center, again, like Tony said, that Ohio State run defense, I don't know. It's a little susceptible, so we'll see.
Well, I'll tell you what, throw Liberty Center up against like a Glenville or Toledo Central Catholic. It's going to be about the closest matchup you get because they always seem to have, 1 and 2, even. Who was a team, I think, last year that ended up having like 3 or 4?
Glenville has a lot going on. And this year, I think they have two 4-star recruits committed to Ohio State.
So that's going to be a decent comparison there, If the Liberty Center would go up against a Glenville and knock them off, maybe.
I don't know.
Not really, but
that's probably the most far-fetched one I've ever seen. So
it's still funny.
Yeah, it's just funny to throw in there. Let's move on to the next and last hot take. A Northwest Ohio team wins a state title and not Liberty Center.
That's I think that one's far-fetched because that means PH.
Or Columbus Grove.
Or Toledo. Yeah. Toledo's got a team up there.
Yeah,
I guess,
Toledo Central Catholic. If we're talking just coverage area, or are we talking true like North? Because Salina's still in it too, but out of all of them, honestly, the way it looks like Liberty Center has a pretty good shot. If you're talking bigger Northwest Ohio, obviously Toledo Central Catholic has a pretty good shot as well. It's just it's going to come down to the Perry team. If Liberty Center, obviously you can't look forward, but Liberty Center's got to take care of business this week. Perry is in sights for the state championship. Perry's definitely the favorite in the other division. And I did some research on this Perry team. They're pretty legit. And actually, they've played a tougher schedule than I believe Liberty Center has. And they play all the schools that they play during the regular season. Liberty plays teams like Patrick Henry, a Division 7 team, right. A lot of Division 5 teams, which is what they're in, a lot of Division 6 teams. But this Perry team plays up. They play Division 3 teams. They play Division 3 teams that have made deep playoff runs this year. They play Division 4 teams. They play Division 5 teams. I don't even think I'd have to look, but I don't know that they actually play a Division 6 or 7 team on the schedule. I could be wrong. Definitely not 7, but you might play 1 or 2 6. But right. They have been battle tested, and they've kind of taken care of business throughout the playoffs. So Liberty Center, if they win this week, they're going to have their hands full in the state championship. And I tell you what, if you have one to go to, that would be the one because it's going to be a battle for sure. So
the thing that I don't like about it is basically it's going to be a home game for Perry. I mean, not quite, you know what I mean? But it's not that far from home.
Neck of the woods.
Yeah. So obviously they'll probably bring. Well, I can't say they'll bring a bigger crowd because Liberty Center is going to bring every single person in Liberty. They'll even shut the gas station down for that one, Keith.
Probably right.
But I don't know. I think PH and I think Columbus Grove both have a huge task on their hand this weekend. Not saying that Liberty Center doesn't, but I think out of the 3, I think Liberty Center's probably got the best chance to win out of the 3. So to say that somebody else wins a state title, not Liberty Center, I don't know.
Columbus Grove going up against Versailles, if they could pull that one off, they could very easily
just got to take care of business 1 week at a time.
Yeah, Patrick Henry, that one's going to be a tough one if they would beat Marion Local, I would say, yeah, absolutely. But I don't know if that one's going to happen.
Keith, you got any insight?
Nope, no more additional thoughts. You guys pretty much hit them all.
All right. Well, that will conclude our hot takes. So, again, that was presented by BSN Sports, so we thank them for sponsoring that segment. And, again, we thank you guys for sending those in. And, this probably will be the last podcast of the year. So, we appreciate all of them. Who knows? We'll see what kind of goes on from here. But, it's been fun with these hot takes. And, guys, keep sending them in whenever we have them. That's for sure. So, all right. Well, we're going to take a break to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Crystal Vasquez of Amerimaid Realty is a top real estate agent in Northwest Ohio. Crystal's compassion and enthusiasm allow her to find that special property or house just for you. Located in Bryan, Ohio, give her a call today at 419-799-1243. Jimenez Basketball Academy strives to create an atmosphere to cultivate basketball fundamentals in Northwest Ohio youth athletes, offering one-on-one sessions, group sessions, speed and agility training, and much more. Located in Pettisville, Ohio, call Coach Jesse today at 419-551-8105. The Drop Zone Pizzeria is the #1 voted pizza restaurant in the region. Check them out for pizza, wings, subs, and more. Located in Ayersville and Stryker, or ask them about their traveling food trailer. Northwest Ohio Basketball hosts premier basketball tournaments for boys in grades 3 to 8 in the area. Upcoming tournaments are right around the corner. Give them a call today at 419-283-5296 or check out their website at nwoball.com. The Thunderdome is your local indoor softball and baseball facility offering private lessons, turf infield, batting cages, and pitching machine rentals, even offering a golf simulator. Located in Archbold, Ohio. Give them a call today at 419-906-3643. Nicely Rentals and Storage is your go-to venue for graduation parties, birthdays, weddings, and more. Also offering vehicle storage, table and chair rentals, and U-Haul equipment. Located in Ayersville, Ohio. Give them a call today at 419-439-6177.
Trueland Equipment and Salesman Lauren Brown are your go-to for John Deere equipment in Archbold, Ohio. Mowers, compact tractors, skid loaders, and more. Your sales expert on commercial turf and CCE sales. Give Lauren a call today at 419-445-1565.
We're back on the NWO Sports Podcast, and we are looking into state semifinals game predictions. We're going to kick it off with Division 5. Well, I guess not Region 18 anymore, Division 5 in general. Now we're to the Final Four. We're looking at Germantown Valley View, 13-1, facing off against Liberty Center, 14-0, and that game will be played at Sidney Memorial Stadium. That will be the NWO Sports Game of the Week, and we'll be down there this week. And Liberty Center is favored in this one, according to Drew Pastor, given an 85% chance to win and by 19 points, which that's pretty impressive. I couldn't actually believe that Drew Pastor had it predicted like that. Just for those of you who don't know, Germantown is just a little south and west of Dayton, and they've also made it to the Final Four last year, and they lost to Ironton. So Ironton and South Range played for the state championship last year. Just quick peek at Germantown Valley View. They've actually played a tougher strength of schedule, according to Drew Pastor, than Liberty Center with a rank of 11, whereas Liberty Center has played 16th. You know, Valley View has played some tougher teams this year. They've got a couple quality wins against a 8-4 Division III Bellbrook team. You look down the schedule, a couple other teams. They played Brookville. They were a Division V team that went 10-3. They have a win against, or they lost to Waynesville in Week 10. That was an 11-3 school. And they actually ended up beating them just last week in the regional final. So, again, that's pretty impressive considering they lost to them 9 in Week 10. And they come back and they beat them by, what would that be, 18 in the regional final. So, again, they beat a team twice. Guys, I don't know. I don't think this game is going to be necessarily 19 points. I think this is going to be similar to Coldwater, another tough matchup. And that's what we say as you get further in the playoffs, games just get tougher and tougher. But considering all things, I still like the way Liberty Center's playing. And Tony said it best. You know, Liberty Center still played Liberty Center football last week against Coldwater. Coldwater could not stop that rushing attack. Right. And I know Coldwater's dealing with some injuries. Hopefully all those kids are back and healthy. But for my pick, I'm going Liberty Center. They are the most physical team I've ever seen, probably of all time. If I'm really being honest, that's the most physical and overall just dominating team that I've probably ever witnessed in my life. And in terms of high school football, being from Northwest Ohio, that's a very talented team. It's a deep team. And again, we talk about guys on Liberty Center. Liberty Center rolls out 68, almost 70 kids. And one kid goes down, the next one steps up. The one kid goes down, another one steps up. And they have so many quality players, and they are so well coached. I think they get it done, and I think they're going on to the state championship. So I'm going Liberty Center.
I'm taking the Tigers, too. Like you said, Logan, Liberty Center, you know what you're going to get from them.
You do.
Coldwater pretty much game planned against that last week and shut them down a bit, but when it mattered, they still mounted like an 89-yard drive to take the lead. So it should be a tough game. But in the end, I think Liberty Center prevails.
Yeah, if Liberty Center cleans up all the first half issues they had this past week, I believe it's going to be a 19-point game. I think if Liberty Center plays clean and keeps themselves in check, I think, at this point, they're the only ones that can beat themselves, just making mental mistakes. I think Liberty Center takes this one, not by big, but definitely a decidable victory.
You might see that passing game come back out here this game. So I'm with Liberty Center as well. I think Liberty Center, you guys have said it all. I just think Liberty Center should be able to take care of business this week.
And Bryce and Matthew both had Liberty Center. So Liberty Center across the board from all of us. Looking at the next game, we're looking at Division 6. Versailles, 12-2, facing off against Columbus Grove, 12-2. That game will be played at Mercy Health, Wapak Ford Field in Wapakoneta. Versailles is favored in this one, according to Drew Pastor, given an 80% chance to win by 15 points. Just a quick look at Versailles. They come from the MAC conference that we talk about all the time. Versailles beat Salina, who's currently in the Division III Final Four, 26-0 in Week 1. Versailles, they only lost to Marion Local by 1 point, 13-14. They lost to Coldwater, 14-21. They beat a 10-3 Minster team and beat an 8-6 Anna team. Again, everyone in that conference just beats up on each other the entire year. And Versailles has also played the number 1 toughest schedule in all of Division 6. That's saying a lot. For reference, Columbus Grove has played the 6th toughest schedule out of 106 schools in Division 6, according to Drew Pasture. So with all that being said, Columbus Grove, gritty team, well-coached team, very disciplined team. They've got the athletes. This is, again, the familiar territory. They make it down to the state semifinals, and they come into these gauntlet teams, schools from the MAC, these powerhouses. I don't know. I think with this, it's going to be tough to get past Versailles. I'm going to go Versailles. Not saying I want to see Columbus Grove win, but I don't think you can count them out this game. I think they'll play them tough. You look back last year, they played Marion Local. They played them very tough in the playoffs. Again, they've kind of been to this type of area. They're familiar. Their kids are motivated. They want to take that next step in the program. But I think this Versailles team is a little too talented, so I'm going Versailles.
Very well points there, Logan. Taking Columbus Grove. They're undersized, which we saw last week, but those kids are just ferocious. Like, you can't deny them, especially on defense. A couple of those guys were like, my gosh, they're so undersized.
Like Kyle Lathrop.
Yes.
He's not a big kid,
No,
but he's
but-
got 16 sacks on the season, or 16 or 16 plus
16,
sacks.
yes.
You know, they just have motors like no other, and they just don't know when to stop. And
Right.
I agree with
Yeah.
you, though.
But one thing I like was, like, every post-game interview that I heard last week from the coaches to the players, they weren't happy making it to the Final Four again. They're like, we already done this. We already been here. We want to go to the next level. So they're focused in actually the task at hand, which is not making it to the Final Four. Not saying that's not what they thought about before, but they want the grand prize at the end. Like, they're not satisfied just getting here this time. So taking Columbus Grove.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, I do remember them talking to Coach Schaefer, I believe, was the one I heard talking about. He's just not happy being at semifinals. Like, he's like, yeah, it's cool, but it's not what we're looking for. You know, we're looking for that next level, and they got that hunger going on. I think they put up a better fight against Versailles than what they're predicted by Drew Pasture. I think it's going to be a closer game. I think Columbus Grove fights like crazy to stay in this one. I'm gonna go with Columbus Grove here.
Boy, I'm keeping my fingers crossed for Columbus Grove. I'm going to pick Columbus Grove as well. I liked what I saw. I think Baraz is going to have a good game and find a way to get to their quarterback.
Bryce had Columbus Grove, and Matthew had Versailles. So Columbus Grove had 4 votes, and Versailles had 2. So we'll see what happens in that game. Last game here, we're looking at Division 7. We're looking at Marion Local, 14-0, facing off against Patrick Henry, 12-2. And that game will be played at, I believe, Lima Spartan Stadium down in Lima. Looking at Marion Local, they're favored in this one, according to Drew Pasture, given a 98% chance to win by 32 points. A couple of fun stats here. Geez. Head coach Tim Goodwin of Marion Local has 13 state championships in 23 or 24 years since 1999. He has 307 wins, 99 of them in the playoffs. Holy cow. I think that 99 playoff wins. 99.
He has more playoff wins than most coaches have wins.
Exactly.
Yeah, you look at some of the coaches we've talked about. It's like, yeah, they're 57-10, which is awesome. You know, decent, solid record, but that's like half the wins that this guy has in just the playoffs alone.
I mean, like we were talking about, you know, when you start going to the playoffs, and if you're going to the state championship 13 times, so that's 5-6 games extra that you're playing every year. You're basically playing the season and a half every single year.
Yeah,
Man.
it all adds up. But obviously, I'm sure Coach Enselman and Patrick Henry, they know what's on their hands. They know Marion Local. They've played them in the past too. But I like the way Patrick Henry has persevered over the last few weeks, really since halfway point of the regular season. And we've talked about that. They've stepped up. They've continued to do well. They continue to win. This Marion Local team is unlike anything other
than they've ever seen before. And I've been there. I've played Marion local as a player. It's demoralizing. I think we lost to them by 14 or 21 points in the semifinals.
At Wapak, I think.
Yeah,
Yep.
and it's tough. I mean, you prepare, but at the end of the day, I think Marion local is just going to be a little too much for Patrick Henry, and we'll see how they go. Hopefully, Patrick Henry can kind of stay in it, but it's going to be a long shot, I think, for sure. So I'm going Marion local.
And Marion Local is another one of those teams, Logan, which we've all seen. They probably dress like 70, 75 kids. Like every male from 9th to 12th grade plays football.
Marion Local I'd be curious to look. There's some years they may be pushing 80 kids as a Division 6-7 program.
Yes. It's just, if you're going to model a program, or at least even just sniff a program like that, you'd model after Marion Local. Taking Marion Local, and great season by Coach High and the Patriots. I mean, as I've said many times in the last 2 months, probably his greatest coaching job ever. Like in his career.
I'd have to agree.
I mean, even taking the
state
championship.
Yeah.
This is probably like his most feel good story of a team, and his greatest coaching job from what he had to what he lost.
As far as
where he's at now. I mean, this is like something like you write a movie script about, honestly.
Right. No, truly
really
coaching,
is.
piecing together things, things don't go the right way, making drastic changes, throwing a kid in at quarterback that's never really played before, guys go down to injury, numbers are kind of lower, and you still, against all odds, you still make it to the state semifinal, Final Four. Like that's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
I don't know of any team that's ever done that before.
No, even
either.
the win last week versus Macomb, they were facing a rusher that had like 2,500 yards and 44 touchdowns or something like that on the season. Wow. Averaged 10 yards a carry, and you come out of that and you're like, wow, this is the fairy tale keeps going. But unfortunately, I think the curtain falls this week on Coach High and the Patriots.
I'm going to say, going back to the hot take we had about miracles, I think they're making a movie about this one, the Miracle on Turf. I'm going to just, hope for a miracle here from Patrick Henry. Maybe they can get it done. Let's go Patrick Henry and the Patriots.
What would be the ultimate ending to a season like this is to knock off Marion Local. You know what? I'm not going to count PH out. You never know that things can happen, and they shut down the Macomb kid last week. Who knows? See what happens. I'm going with PH.
Yeah, they beat the 1 seed Hopewell Loudon just a couple weeks ago too. Yeah. So
I mean, they're going to fight like all get up to compete. They're not going to quit down to the last breath. So
the task is astronomical, and we all know that with Marion Local's record and in the past and all that stuff. But I'll tell you what, there's just been something about this team this year with PH that who knows.
Bryce had Patrick Henry and Matthew had Marion Local. That rounds out all of the picks for high school. I added one other one, guys. It's the big game week. It is Ohio State versus Michigan. Who are you guys taking?
I'm going to go Buckeyes. I mean, I'm just going to go with the Buckeyes, but I think if you want me to be truthful, I think Kyle McCord's going to be peeing down his legs at the big house. I think Ohio State's rushing defense is going to have to step up, even though everybody keeps telling me that they're the best defense in the country, and I just don't see it. But I think Michigan's going to be tough to beat. But, of course, I'm taking the Buckeyes. I wouldn't pick Michigan if I had to.
I'll go next. I got to throw in some Michigan blood here, so I'm going Michigan. Obviously, I'm a Michigan fan, but I like the way they've been playing this year. Their rushing attack, they've been doing really well. They ran the ball for, I don't know how many yards, close to 200, maybe 200 plus yards against, I believe Penn State was like the number 3 rush defense in the nation, and they ran the ball. They didn't even pass the ball in the second half against that game. The Maryland game last week scared me a little bit, to be honest, as a Michigan fan, because I thought, they'd handle them a little bit better. But I think in the sense we kind of talk about maybe it will do them some good to give them a little bit of challenge, adversity going into a big week like Ohio State. But I think a couple of things Michigan has going for them. I think that obviously with the whole scandal, whatever's going on at Michigan right now, all the adversity, I think the players have stayed together as one unit. As Coach Harbaugh said, as his wife's or his grandma's bathing suit, he likes to see her in one piece. Did you see that?
Yeah. What?
In an interview, Coach Harbaugh said, I believe they said it's from a show. I can't remember what his name. Yeah, he said our team is in. I like to see our team like my grandmother's bathing suit in one piece. So that was pretty funny. But seriously, the team's staying together. I think they're kind of using that as some motivation. Obviously, they all posted on Twitter bet when this all's coming out and people are picking against them. But it's tough to win at Michigan. I was there for the first Ohio State Michigan game 2 years ago that Michigan finally won. And it was incredible. That environment's going to be tough, and I think Michigan pulls it out. I don't think it's a blowout, though, like the last couple of years. I know Michigan won by, 20 points, 20-plus points last couple of years. I think it's going to come down to the wire, but I think Michigan will pull it out.
Yeah.
Got a couple Ohio State fans here. Come on, guys, chime in.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, I'm gonna.
Oh, sorry.
Couldn't see it from over there, AJ.
Yeah, I had to get my binoculars out. I had to see what you had, what you were calling over there. No, I always say that my favorite team is Ohio State and anybody that plays Michigan. So definitely going with Ohio State here.
I'm gonna have to pick on Logan. Logan's. I'm just thinking in my head. Logan says about the one-piece bathing suit. So are we gonna see a bunch of Ohio State fans in one-piece bathing suits like we saw in Columbus Grove? Oh my gosh!
Hopefully not. We don't need to see that.
I would be dying laughing if I saw that in the stands.
Boy.
Dang. Of course, I'm picking Ohio State, but if you want to break down the game, it's going to be an uphill battle for the Buckeyes. Unfortunately, they have probably the two best offensive players on the field, and Henderson and Marvin Harrison Jr. There's just, as Tony said, just can't stop the run, and unfortunately, that's the Wolverine strong point is running the football. McCarthy kind of struggled last week, even the week before.
Yeah, he is. He's going to have to throw the ball. I mean, he's had to throw it the last couple of games, and I believe I think Roman Wilson, he's injured. I don't know if he's coming back. That'll be huge. Michigan's got Colston Loveland. He almost kind of reminds me of like I hate to say it, like a great value brand of Brock Bowers from Georgia. Like Brock Bowers is like here. Colston Loveland's down a little bit, but he's still a really good tight end, and I believe he's just, I think, a sophomore too. So another good target for McCarthy as well. But
I think another thing that the Buckeyes would have going for it is last year Michigan just embarrassed their defense, and I think this year they're just out to kind of flip the script a bit.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're not as bad as what we were last year. Actually, they're not. They're actually much better defensively. It's just, can we stop the run?
Actually, I'd be curious because Blake Corum did not play last year.
No, he didn't.
He was out, I believe. I don't know if it was MCL or meniscus. He was out that game, so he didn't even play. And Donovan Edwards was
chewed him up.
He was the X factor. So again, he's another guy for Michigan that's kind of again sat in that kind of B role right behind the A role of Blake Corum all year. So be curious to see what he does, and I think it's going to be a good game. I really do. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be close, and it's going to come down to the fourth quarter. Maybe almost something like I think it was in 2012. So I've only been to 2 Ohio State Michigan games at the Big House, and that was the other one I was at. And it was when Brady Hoke was coach, and I think Devin Gardner was the quarterback for Michigan. Decided they wanted to go for 2 in the win, and they rolled out to the right. We were sitting in that corner of the end zone, and I think it either got deflected or it hit the guy in the hands, and he dropped it.
I think it was deflected.
Yeah, I think it was deflected, but yeah. So maybe it'll come down to something like that. It'll be interesting.
Like the Buckeyes have that little Dellen Hayden.
Yeah,
but he's. Well, only played 3 games because they want to redshirt him for next year, but I think he still has 1 game left, and he could be a difference maker, I think, if he got the chance to play.
Yeah.
Like if Henderson, just like a change of pace, he's just a little lightning bug in a bottle.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a tough game. The Buckeyes, when I watch them, I get frustrated because there's no pass rush. They don't have that big defensive end, the Joey Bosa's, the Chase Youngs, the Nick Bosa's. They don't have that guy coming in off the corner. Now I don't even know how you say his name, Tamulial or whatever his name is. He's supposed to be the guy, but to me, he's not impressive. He's got his hands up a few times.
He's up and down.
Yeah. And the Buckeyes are supposed to have Eichenberg back. Everybody's supposed to be back healthy, so that'll be good. To see no excuses, right? Healthy versus healthy, let's battle it out and see. We didn't have Corum or we didn't have Eichenberg. Well, everybody's supposed to be healthy.
Hey, Michigan didn't have Corum last year. I know. And they still ended up winning.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want to hear anybody say, "Oh, we didn't have Corum or we didn't have Donovan Edward." Hey, just line them up, let them play, and see what happens. I personally think I'm going to pick Ohio State, but I think they've got a battle on their hands.
Yeah, and obviously everyone knows Michigan has a pretty elite offensive and defensive line. They have the last really 3 years. Their offensive line has won the Joe Moore Award for the best offensive line in the nation. And again, they're just physical.
I don't know. I think if anything for Michigan, obviously their pass protection has been kind of a little bit weaker at times, but they're going to have to step it up, and we'll see how they do.
All I know is if Ohio State's not up 28-0, 10 seconds into the game, every fan for Ohio State just go berserko. Not 28-0, 10 seconds into the game. What's wrong with our quarterback? What's wrong with our offense? What's wrong with the defense? Oh my God! I'm like die-hard Ohio State fans, but their fan base just is embarrassing. It honestly just blows my mind.
If you've watched any Ohio State games this year, we're not going to be up 28-0 in the first set.
Well,
I will say,
just throwing that out there.
I know.
The Ohio State fan base overreacts about every single thing. Jeez.
It's not a 15-minute game or a 30-minute game. They play 60 minutes, so it's not 28-0. 6 minutes into the game, it's going to be all right.
Well,
Don't jump off a bridge.
The first game of the year, didn't they play Indiana? And things were close for a while, and oh my goodness, everyone on social media, this team is terrible. We are not going to win any games this year. And I'm like, geez, now they're undefeated. They're playing Michigan for a shot at national championship contention, Big Ten championship contention. So
you would honestly think in the last 10 years, like Facebook's been relevant, that Ohio State has never won a game.
Yeah, right.
And you think about that. You think about the Ohio States, the Michigans, the Notre Dames, the Alabamas, the Georgias, those elite teams. Those teams have to win. I mean, they're like field goal kickers, dude. You can't miss.
Yep.
I mean, you think about it. That's why I always think about Ohio State, think about Michigan and Georgia and Alabama. You can't miss. If you lose a game, everybody's like, you're done.
It's like Clemson this year. Like Dabo Sweeney at one time was 4-4. Like those people were just losing their minds.
They were
down
calling
there.
for him to be on the hot seat. It's like, like some of these, you hear about these coaching in general, like Dabo being on the hot seat, or you hear like Bill Belichick for the Patriots being on the hot seat. It's like, come on now, like who are you going to hire to replace Bill Belichick? That dude's one of the greatest coaches of all time. Obviously, he's had some really good talent, and Tom Brady's obviously the first thing that gets brought up with his name, but still, Bill's a good coach. Yep. I mean, I don't know who else you're going to replace some of these guys with. Coaching is a cutthroat profession now. Like
anymore, it is with social media and everything.
The thing that happened at LSU was the thing that blew my mind. They were successful, and all of a sudden they lost a couple games, and they just chopped that guy. I'm like, what happened? What was it? Orgeron?
Yeah,
Coach.
And that dude got paid leaving too. Did you hear him talk about that before?
Yeah.
He's talked. Same with Jimbo Fisher from Texas A&M. That dude is going to make what, 70-something million over the next 10 years that they still owe him on his contract.
Wow.
I don't know how you can justify that.
Good grief.
Yeah,
that's good. That's some rocking chair money.
no kidding. That dude is just going to sit there and he's going to sail off in the sunset with that 70 mil. I could not believe that.
Screw it. Just become a college coach and do something stupid and get yourself fired.
I'll just be a commentator.
Leave.
Be a commentator, collect my $70 million from Texas A&M.
I don't know. Some of these contracts, it makes you wonder what, I don't know. I mean, kudos to whoever his agent is, because that's a heck of a deal. I mean, that's setting that dude up for life. Obviously, he's probably got already enough money anyways, but an extra cool 70 mil, that's pretty nice.
So one of my pages today said something about like Ryan Day. He's lost to Michigan twice. Outside of that, he's had phenomenal seasons. I mean, you look at his record, he's only lost 5 games? Something like that.
48-5 or something.
Yeah, it's some ridiculous amount, and he's been to national,
in the playoffs.
Yeah, in the playoffs. He hasn't. Yeah, his first year, I think he went to national
54-6. Ryan Day's all-time record.
So, 54-6. And somebody said something about like, we heard that if Ohio State doesn't beat Michigan this year, that Day could be on the chopping block. It's like, no, he's not. They've been saying the same thing about Harbaugh for the last 8 years, and he's still there.
That's where the spoiled Ohio State fan base comes into play.
Yeah,
Ohio State just needs like a 7-5 season to get everybody to stop losing their mind.
Well, who's I'm blanking. What's the guy's name from Penn State? The coach.
James Franklin.
Franklin.
Dude, that guy has. What's his record? He's lost to Michigan and Ohio State.
It's pretty
Michigan
good, but he always loses them.
It's like his bowl game record, and those two is like 1 for 16 or something like that.
He wins all the other games in the season, then loses to Michigan, Ohio State, and then loses the bowl game. I mean, dude. I mean, it's like having Marion local on your schedule every year, right? You're like, got to play them again,
right?
And you have a really good team, but you got to go up against Marion local. It's just one of those things where like I said, but I get a little bit frustrated with the Ohio State, the Michigans, because like I said, you can't miss. You got to win. You got to win. And if you're not winning, people are looking to get rid of you.
Well, it's just the expectation at those levels now.
College football's a multi-million, probably almost billion-dollar industry too. So there's a lot of money involved in that whole situation.
It's only going to get worse too, with the teams coming from the West Coast coming in to the Midwest,
and same with the NLI and the transfer portal. I think it was Duke's head coach came out and said, "Get ready because within the next week it's about to turn into the wild, wild west, and you better figure out strategies to retain your players because people and coaches and different teams are throwing money out there left and right to try to." Poach players from different teams and get them to come to their school. So it's going to be absolutely crazy within the next few weeks.
And the teams that have the money are going to get the players. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So you're going to look at the Ohio States, all the Big 10 teams, well, the Big 25 teams. Those teams they're like USC, UCLA, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. Those guys are going to be able to start yanking these teams from all these smaller schools that are going to have really, really good athletes that just didn't get picked up to start with. And I'm gonna be 100% honest. I guarantee you, Ohio State's going to be looking for a quarterback.
Yeah,
they're going to go out there searching like they pulled Fields. They're going from Georgia. They're going to go out there. They're going to be searching in that transfer portal to pull somebody up.
So, I think the transfer portal kind of ruined college football.
It absolutely has.
Yeah, not even a little bit, a lot. I think it ruined college football a lot. Yep. I think the restructuring of some of these conferences is going to make things interesting, probably for a negative way. I think it's more about the money and everything, which I don't even know how that's necessarily the case, because you got teams traveling from the West Coast to play Ohio State, Michigan. Like, how is that financially?
Well, think about UCLA's got to play against Rutgers and Maryland.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
they the opposite corners of the United States.
You think about it, there are some people in those positions that are making $1,000,000 decisions. They're not going to do a move that's not going to benefit the conference or those teams.
Right.
Plus, you're entering a market like LA. You're entering a whole new market in the West Coast market, TV deals, all that stuff. Right. So, but yeah, well, we talked a lot about Ohio State and Michigan. So I know this is the Northwest Ohio Sports Podcast, but I thought I'd throw that in there. And
it's Northwest Ohio.
Yeah, definitely. So we got to talk about the big game. You can't not talk about it. So other than that, guys, closing thoughts. We talked to everybody about a lot of things, from Northwest Ohio football to college football to Thanksgiving to everything in between. So
the only thing I got for this week, I think for the first time really this year, you need to bundle up layers, because I think this is the first week where it's going to be truly playoff weather. Dropping into the 20s or even lower at night. It's going to be a frigid one for sure.
I have to find us some of those heated gloves, AJ.
I got them saved on my Amazon shopping list.
Will they be here by Friday?
Thanksgiving, I doubt it.
Shoot. No, it's going to be an interesting weekend. I'm wishing all the best of luck to all three area teams, and I hope they all three come home with a win, and we can stay here next week and do this again for the state championship. I think that'd be awesome.
Yep, if we get all three back here next week, that'd be fantastic. See if we can get another coach on and whatnot. But it's been a great year regardless. Had fun from the middle of August up until this point. We've traveled places in the last 5 weeks, had a ton of fun on the sidelines.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
It's been great. Even the trips to the games, from the games, during the game, meet people we haven't talked to or finally had a chance to see and talk to. It's been real fun. So.
Yeah, for me, again, like Keith said, a lot of good memories. It's always fun traveling to new places, meeting new people, meeting familiar faces too, talking to them a lot. But yeah, overall good time. And again, we want to wish all those teams good luck. I know, obviously, if we pick against you, use it as locker room talk, whatever. But we want to see you guys all win. Columbus Grove, Patrick Henry, and Liberty Center. Nothing's better than representing Northwest Ohio and the athletic program. So we wish all those teams the best of luck. And if a couple of them win, we'll probably do a podcast next week. We'll talk and see. We'll figure things out. Maybe this will be the last one, but we still have our final one of the year where we release our Northwest Ohio Sports all league teams, the Player of the Year awards, the Ironman award, stuff like that. So won't be the very last for the football season, but we'll see about as far as concluding the season, the regular season / postseason, too, however you want to look at it. So,
one more thing too: get out and support these teams coming in the state semis. You'll never get this moment back, and a lot of these teams, even not in necessarily Northwest Ohio, but just anybody in college or in high school football here in Ohio, get out and support the local team, because your team may not get an opportunity like this again, in the near future. So I know our family always has a Black Friday tradition where we go to Fort Wayne and do a bunch of stuff, and we're going to be cutting that short this year to be at the Liberty Center game. It's going to be one of the first times, and as long as I can remember, that we're going to be changing our Black Friday tradition to get to a game, and I'm actually really excited for it.
Yep.
Yeah, that, again, like AJ said, get out there and support them. Obviously, we know the state's increased ticket prices, which they're getting up pretty high, but if you can, go out and support them. Because it's going to be once in a lifetime. You're never going to have these teams with these players, these coaches all align and have this opportunity. So go out there, make some memories, watch these kids, support them, and make the most out of it. So that's all I've got. But other than that, we'd like to thank all of our sponsors: 3Chord, Optimal Performance Fitness, BSN Sports and Jim Garris, Bat and Stevens Body Shop, Tenora Rams Live, Jim and his Basketball Academy, Fairchild Family Chiropractic, NWO Basketball, The Drop Zone Pizzeria, Crystal Vasquez of Amerimaid Realty, Nicely Storage and Rentals, The Thunderdome, and Truland Equipment and Lauren Brown. We'd also like to give a special thanks to Jeff Batt for allowing us to use his amazing facility at Bat and Stevens Body Shop for today's podcast. Stay tuned for the next NWO Sports podcast in the near future, and thanks for watching.
Happy Thanksgiving, all.